Today I'm going to show you how to cut vinyl on a US cutter to create custom decals. Grab your assigned SD card and adapter. Carefully insert the SD card into the adapter by looking at the little diagram that matches the slanted corner. Insert the dongle into your iPad and get ready to save your file. Select the send icon and choose Publish and Export. Then choose Quick Export as AI, Save to Files. You are going to choose your SD card, which is EOS Digital, and then change the name of your file. Use a similar naming process as I do here. Confirm your file has saved by looking for this exported notification. Now it is time to choose your vinyl. Look at the available colors and then prepare to load it into the machine. If you're using a roll, place the roll in the back rails, and then make sure the vinyl is feeding in this direction. Flip the feed rollers down, and then feed the vinyl underneath the rollers. It's important to make sure that these wheels are right above this steel rod. There are these little gaps here, so make sure that you're not placing those rollers right over one of those plastic gaps. It's best to place the wheels right on the edge of the vinyl roll. Just make sure it's not too close in case it's feeding at a slight angle. Once the vinyl is aligned, flip the feed rollers down to engage the vinyl. Power the machine on, and now we're going to zero the blade. Select offline and use the left and right arrows to position the blade right over the bottom corner of your material. You can use the down and up arrow to feed the material actually through the roll. Just make sure you don't go too far. Once you have it positioned, select the origin button and it will drop the blade right onto the corner and position your zero. If you have a small design like mine, I don't actually need a whole roll. So I'm going to look at my offcuts and my scrap material and try to use one of these. My design is really only 3 inches, so any of these small scraps will work really great for me. I like this black high gloss material. To use this, I'm going to first create a perfect straight edge. Now I can reference this edge to create a 90 degree. This will help me align it in my machine later. So use a ruler and a square if you have one, or you could align it up with a cutting mat and just make sure that you have a nice perpendicular corner. The paper cutter we have makes really quick work of this, so I'm just going to make sure I identify the edge that is not perfectly straight and place that through the blade. As I line up the straight edge to the back registration ruler, I'm going to hold firmly down on the bottom left of my material as I slice down through with the paper cutter. Now I have a perfect perpendicular edge. I could obviously slice this down to size, or I could just take a measurement later to use the most of my material. Now I'm going to feed this into my machine the same way as I did the roll, except it's obviously a lot smaller. Now that I have a straight edge, I can line that up to the marks on my machine and place my rulers. Now I need to zero my blade the same way by selecting offline, move the blade over, move the material through, and then select origin. Insert your SD card into the USB adapter to load your files onto the computer that is hooked up to our vinyl cutter machine. Open the application Vinyl Master. Create new document. Ensure that your units are set to inches. And now I'm going to change my workspace to reflect that of my material. My material is 6 by 6.5. Now just open up your folder and drag your Illustrator file right onto this workspace. Just be careful, this first file that looks correct is not, so just try the second one that's titled the same thing. Select Accept and then place your artwork. Move it to the bottom right corner of this workspace, and I can see I'm going to have some wasted space, and it's more efficient if I rotate it. Now I have this negative space over here where I could actually enlarge my design, or I could duplicate it, but I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity and use this extra material to cut out an alternative to my design. I'm going to select File, Import, and then place my artwork here. You can freely drag the corners to enlarge it, but the preferred method is to input the actual size that you want by scaling it up here with the artwork selected. Complete any final adjustments, and then select this button right here, which is Send to Cutter. preview this display, but first change the media width to reflect your actual material and make sure that it looks correct. Select Cut Now, make sure that your material is still aligned, and then select Proceed with Cut. Now just wait until the vinyl cutter is done. It will complete its job fairly quickly, but it's a good idea to stay close by in case something goes off track. When the job is completed, flip the feed rollers up and then pull your vinyl through. You can see the cut path of my two designs. When I do multiple designs on one single sheet, I like to cut them apart before I put the transfer tape on. If you have extra scrap that's usable, put it aside to save for later. I have both of my decals. Carefully peel away the negative space around your design. If you pull back on it, it's a little easier to press down on the parts that you don't want to peel away. This is now trash, so just put it to the side. I like to use an X-Acto blade or tweezers to help me pull off the smaller shapes. And this is ready to apply. To prepare this to apply to the surface, you need transfer tape. It comes in these large masking tape rolls, which is transfer paper, or it comes in these plastic sheets that has a grid. This is relatively kind of expensive, and for these small designs, you can also just use masking tape. Just make sure the entire surface is covered, and if you have to overlap the tape, that is completely fine. Just make sure it overlaps the edges of your design, and then use one of these squeegees to kind of push it onto there and make sure it's smooth as possible, getting out all air bubbles. I like to cut off the extra tape so it's easier to apply to my surface. Measure out where you want to apply your sticker. You can either align it to the center or to an edge. I'm just going to put it on the back of this board for an example. So I'm going to measure out the center of my surface and then give myself some perpendicular lines. I'm going to eye it up and then peel off the back. I like to put the backer kind of over half the design, especially for large designs. That way I can center it up, apply the bottom half, and then just remove that material and smooth it on from the center up. As you squeegee it on, start from the center and work your way out to the edges, pushing out all air bubbles. Then peel off the transfer tape. If you push down as you pull the tape off, it helps ensure that you don't actually pull off the vinyl. Go over it one more time with the applicator, and this is done.